Right now, we do want to get to Mayor Quinton Lucas, who is joining us this morning on the phone. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. We do want to start with the situation that has unfolded in Portland. It really is like a war zone there. The mayor was tear gassed overnight, and these federal agents are seeming to exacerbate the situation there. And there are protests scheduled this weekend in Kansas City. Are you expecting these federal agents to be there? And how are you going to make sure that what's going on in Portland doesn't happen here?
A few different things, and good morning. First, I continue to be in touch with our United States Attorney in this district, Tim Garrison, about what we need and what we don't. What we certainly need is support for the many unsolved murders in Kansas City, including the murder of Legend Talifaro several weeks ago. What we do not need are federal agents that are coming in as boots on the ground, and I think respectfully exacerbating situations. I know they're there to do a job, but if you look at the images out of Portland, you've had protests as well since the announcement of Department of Homeland Security troops that are there. We do not need that sort of assistance in Kansas City. Our police department, I believe, is able to handle well any number of the issues going on, and so that's my belief of how we can kind of process our next few weeks and months ahead.
Mayor, yesterday, the Attorney General, when he was speaking, said federal agents made 200 arrests so far in Kansas City. The city only confirming one, a 20-year-old man. We then find out that the Attorney General's number wasn't true at all. It was a lie. Those 200 arrests were by state police and federal agents involved in a different operation that dates back to December 2019. There is a danger in reporting such false information at a time where mistrust is at its peak. How are people supposed to trust what's happening here in our own city with that big of an inaccuracy displayed to the whole country?
Well, that's one of the gravest concerns that I think I've had throughout this entire process. The way I grew to learn about this was it seemed as if the Justice Department had come up with a plan. They contacted someone in my office, but never me directly. Then we hear a White House press secretary statement, and then we're hearing changing numbers. And then yesterday, I think all of us in Kansas City were a bit aghast at what was said and reported. We do need openness. We need honesty right now, and I think particularly when you're talking about issues as it pertains to public safety, troops on the streets, that sort of thing. I will continue to work with our local agencies to try to get all that information. I know the Kansas City Police Department will be interested in providing that information as clearly and openly as they can, and we'll keep working our level best throughout this program, which is supposed to only be a temporary one, to make sure that we're sharing all the facts that we can as soon as possible. To the extent we don't know them, we ask questions, and we get the record corrected.
And do you know, Mayor, what is the timeline for Operation Legend? When are these agents leaving?
Well, it was reported in a press conference last week that they'd be here for 60 days, that they would be 100 officers, then it increased to about 225. So I think we're at least still on that 60-day window. So by the fall, they will probably be out of town, and we'll continue to need to have a long-term sustainable solution to violent crime. Things like this are meant to get a big splash, particularly when you're up for re-election in a few months. So I understand why the president is doing what he's doing. But I think what we need to make sure we're doing is still coming up with sustainable efforts to address violent crime in the city, including the flood of illegal firearms that are coming into Kansas City. And a lot of these guns that are being used in crimes, this isn't your grandpa's Beretta. These are new weapons that are being put here by distributors. There is no gun factory in Kansas City, Missouri, and we would really enjoy federal help as we address those issues long term.
And Mayor, quickly before we let you go, one last question. Critics of this and protesters of police brutality say this is the opposite of what we need right now. There are many people supporting it too, though. But the goal of this is to close cases and find the killers of young people. Has that happened here at all yet? Have we had any arrests for people like Legend Talifaro's killer?
It has not yet, and that's what we all want. That's what this was sold as. That's what this needs to be, and it needs to be nothing beyond that. I don't want this to convert to a Portland-type situation. We don't need that. We've, I think, handled our protests as well as we possibly could here in Kansas City. And so I hope this stays on that very violent crime focus finding murderers and getting them off the streets of Kansas City.
If not, would you take legal recourse against Operation Legend?
I think we'll take every option necessary to make sure the people of Kansas City are safe, and that includes not just safe from violent crime and violence. We certainly appreciate support there, but also able to exercise their First Amendment rights. Our Kansas City Police Department has done incredible work over recent months to try to make sure that people still have the right to protest, even in situations that have been tense. What we don't need is to make a powder keg out of our streets and out of our city, which I fear some of these other federal operations have been about.
Okay, Mayor Quinton Lucas joining us this morning discussing Operation Legend and its impact here in Kansas City. We do appreciate your time.